about when we talked about podcasting. I'm like, am I allowed to pee in the middle? Because when I did podcast with Aid, I had to pee the whole second half, and I didn't know if I was allowed to. So
Yeah, we're just break it up and
that's
combine the
actually
audio, so we're all good.
okay. Thank you.
No problem.
But that's how we got connected, right? Was through podcast with Aid.
Yes, I don't remember who reached out to who. I can't remember if I know I saw you mentioned on AIDS though. I think I might have reached out. I don't really remember. I'm usually the one who reaches out because I'm trying to get people on all the time. So I would assume that's the way it went. But yes, yeah.
Yeah, Aid's wonderful. That was actually the first podcast I did, and you're my second, so I'm really happy to have that connection.
Yeah, Aid's awesome. I don't know. Do you know we partner on a podcast together?
Oh, I think you guys have another festival podcast, right?
Yeah, we have one that's almost like distinctly dedicated to podcasts. Where mine here kind of drifts away. I've got different guests. Again, more people with unique backgrounds is what I'm going for, and we're talking about that. And then that one we do specifically like festival stories. Like it's just like we're just talking. People write in their crazy festival stories, and we share them, and then we talk about them and laugh about them and stuff like that. So. And it's all anonymous, so if you ever want to submit a story, no one would know who it is. So that's the other thing.
Well, I have a lot of stories.
We'll have to get you on just to talk about those then.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the initial catalyst. I'm curious if there is anything when you're listening to me talk to Aid that came up that you wanted to talk about here, ask me about.
I've only gotten about halfway through it, but we were talking about Burning Man, and you mentioned like psychedelics and stuff like that. That's also something in your book and whatnot. So those are topics I for sure want to talk about. But let's get into Burning Man because I'm so curious about it and how that played.
Awesome.
I know you mentioned how that's played a role within your writing of the book and everything, hence the name Burning Wings. It's kind of a play onto that Burning Man, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's correct. So started doing podcasts initially to talk about my book. I just launched a book called Burning Wings. It's my first book. It's written in novel form, but it's really a fictionalized memoir about my first Burning Man in 2007. Back before there was Instagram, back before Burning Man sold out, I was this 21-year-old with a broken heart, and I was gifted a ticket to go to this crazy place. So
someone just gave you a ticket to go.
And the story is all in there. Wow. Somebody just gave me a ticket to go, and it absolutely changed my life. I really think that if anybody wants to understand more about Burning Man, that my book is a really wonderful place to start. It's a personal experience. It's interwoven with so many different stories from years at Burning Man, these random conversations, this really showing of the intense highs and the intense lows that an entire week at Burning Man can bring. And also the connection to humans and the spiritual revelations that are possible there. And there's also a lot of really good shit show parties and party stories. So don't worry. It's definitely weird. I describe it as a cross between Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Alice in Wonderland, and The Alchemist. So a little bit whimsical, definitely a little bit gonzo, and a little bit Spirit Quest and beautiful.
I mean, I think it's a great combination of all sorts. With the book taking place at Burning Man, or part of it is it all of it or part of it? I apologize.
The whole thing takes place at Burning Man.
And is
each chapter is a different day. So 7 chapters that go Monday through Sunday.
Okay.
So it takes you through an entire week.
Wow. Okay. So that's one of my questions was with Burning Man it is for the whole week. I'm not super familiar with the process of Burning Man. I know what it is. I know where, I know it's out in the desert. Everyone, they make the town, they make all the art installations, they make everything, and then it goes. But I'm not familiar with how long it is or anything like that. But
so Burning Man's an entire week. It takes place in Black Rock City in Nevada, which is maybe like 2 hours outside of Reno. And one of the things that makes it so unique is there's nothing out there. You're on this ginormous dried up flat lake bed where there's insane dust. We get dust storms that go up to like 40 plus miles an hour that just rip through everything, threaten to destroy things. and it gets really, really cold at night. It gets really, really hot during the day.
Oh my gosh.
And like most traditional festivals, there's some kind of like central infrastructure, and a lot of
Yeah.
it is curated by whoever's putting on the festival. Burning Man really is an entire city. When I first started going, I think it was 47,000 people, and now it's capped off at around 75,000 people.
Wow.
And it's definitely sold out for the last number of years. But whereas in a traditional festival, there's like, there's main stage, there's the healing zone, there's this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Burning Man really is an entire city, and every single neighborhood is going to have its own unique things. There's definitely the sound zone places where the big sound camps are, and there's this whole open, expansive area that we call open playa, where there's just art installations and different things that you have to either take. You can walk; it takes a long time, or you decorate bicycles and ride around, or people build these big art cars called mutant vehicles that
like
charter
that.
people around.
Mutant
And
vehicles.
I really, yeah,
like
mutant
that.
vehicles. We have department. The DMV there is the Department of Mutant Vehicles.
That's funny, actually. Okay, I like that. I like the way that sounds. What were you gonna say though about it?
I was gonna say that I really think that Burning Man is whatever experience you're calling in. You can absolutely go there and just party your face off and dress really pretty. You can go there and find all of the different spiritual workshops and really drop in and get really, really deep. You can go there and you can do a little bit of all of the above. My experience has absolutely evolved. My first year, read the book, wink, wink. I didn't know anything. I didn't really know anybody. And I just kind of romped around and took a lot of drugs and had adventures. And I won't really say I got in trouble, but I definitely shit showed a lot. But I was also just so open and so young and so naive that there was space for all of these lessons to come through. And I feel like I attracted all of these wise people and elders that kind of helped pave the way for me to evolve. Now when I go, it's very different. I crew up with a really big, beautiful, amazing camp that produces a full symphony orchestra.
Wow.
So I'm out there now for 17 days each time, and I kind of sanction off about 3 months of my life for pre-production, on-site, and post-production. So
wow. Okay.
I have a much different experience now than when I used to go, but I still feel like that same magic is still there.
Mm-hmm. Dang, that's crazy. I didn't know. So you're there for 3 whole months, and that's half of it's, or a quarter.
No, 17 days. I'm on site for 17 days.
Oh, okay.
But we start planning. Well, we start planning generally in late winter or March, and then we really start planning and building, I don't know, the beginning of summer.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a whole lifestyle if you're going that direction, for sure.
Yeah, I never knew. I mean, I guess I could guess that that's kind of like the planning behind it, but I never thought of it like taking that long. And then being there for 17 days that's nuts to me. I mean, how do you compare it to other festivals? Because obviously it's unique compared to others. It's very different in the way that, like you just explained, how the way they do things. There is no just main stage and then another stage and then this and that. It's not like it's something you can even really compare to EDC Las Vegas or something like that.
God, no.
Yeah.
No. I went to one EDC. EDC is so corporate and curated that I don't feel like there's a lot of space for people to really drop in and express themselves.
Okay.
Because Burning Man is created by all participants.
Right. Oh, okay. That's true.
There's this element of work that goes along in it. I've always felt like the biggest high and the biggest sense of accomplishment whenever I've helped to be a part of creating something. And when you go to Burning Man, even if you're just showing up for your first time, you really get to interact. You walk into any camp and talk to the people who built it. You go to workshops and you talk to them. I feel like EDC feels really curated with a lot of lines and security and people telling you where you can go and where you can stand. There's not as many
creators there talking about their work and what they've done. Oh yeah, I put that together. I put this together. Like it's way more like it's like almost like closed off and secluded in a way. Like there's this back door and you're like can't get in. Whereas Burning Man, it's like, here's how we did it. We did this. Like check it out. Come look. Come. Like is that where you're just kind of getting at?
Yeah, exactly. Like everything. I feel like everything there is kind of created to make you think a little bit more. Can I climb on this? Can I not? What happens if I press this button? You know, there's just this sense of exploration there.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Burning Man is just also so massive that it's virtually impossible for anybody to have the exact same experience. No matter what you do, you're never going to see everything there. So it kind of forces you to fully be in the present moment rather than trying to check off all of these boxes. Just going and getting lost and getting in random conversations and, you know, finding this one secret art installation that you try to tell your friends about and they never find it. So it's, you know, you have that experience.
So it's very much what I'm hearing is like it's very much go with the flow type of festival. There should be no pre-planning. I mean, obviously besides maybe your camp, but after that it's like whatever happens. There's no like we're going to this stage then, we're going to this installation now, we're meeting up here. It's just like nope. You just do if you
you can try, but you can't be attached to it. I would say no planning for actually like going out, but there is an insane amount of planning before you go.
I would yes, that's what I was yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Planning out all of the camps, making sure that you're bringing enough food, enough water, making sure that when a dust storm comes, your stuff isn't just going to go flying all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
Like I always tell everybody every time you leave camp at Burning Man, you know, make sure that you need to have your goggles in case there's a dust storm. You want to have like something for your mouth in case there's a dust storm. Always want to have lights on your bike in case you get stuck out after dark. If you're going out at nighttime, then I'll have like a bikini or something on underneath in case I just am out dancing as the sun comes up and it gets hot. At least I can take everything off. Always have enough water. Always have like a little like a power bar or something. It's definitely survival. It's not easy and it shouldn't be. It really forces you to challenge yourself, like mind, body, and spirit, because it will try to break you. My camp manager always says the desert is literally trying to kill you. But in that, there's kind of this badass Mad Max element and also this sense of community that develops by surviving in this crazy place with all these other people. Like, let alone building these insane installations and camps and stages.
When you say building camps, because I don't know anything of it. So is there like people build their camps and others can go within it, like go in the camps and see what they're doing, like how they did it? Or like, is it still like, oh no, this is our camp? Like, how is that just kind of work?
It's honestly, it's all over the place. My first year, I went out there with a 4-person tent and camped with some people that I hardly knew.
Wow.
Now my camp has a lot of infrastructure and we spent a week building it and we have a whole large open space and open area that's open to anyone. And then we have like our personal camp is kind of backstage and it's kind of frowned upon to walk into people's personal areas if you don't know them.
That makes sense.
There is unfortunately a lot of theft and whatnot that goes on there. Anytime you have that many people that intoxicated in a big place, there is some shady stuff that goes on. I kind of think of camps as like people's personal homes and their living rooms. You know, if they have like their yard open, and it's pretty obvious if you can go and play on something, but you wouldn't just go into somebody's house that you didn't know and expect them to take care of you and pay attention to you. And they're like trying to sleep or they're just waking up with a hangover. It's like, it's just, you know, it's just basic. It's kind of just basic common sense and respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bigger camps around the sound areas have to be a lot more careful because that's where a lot of the theft and the dark stuff happens. And sometimes it's just people like fucked up and can't find a porta potty and they're peeing on your tent, you know? So you're kind of forced to have to regulate a little bit more, which feels yucky.
Yeah.
And when I first started going, there wasn't as much of like the backstage and front stage in these different camps, but as it started to blow up and there's more and more people there definitely is, you have to protect your shit.
Yeah, unfortunately,
unfortunately, that's just how it is. And it's not about it's not about trying to be like elitist or anything. It's really just like personal protection and a sense of pride for what you helped bring out there and wanting to keep it safe.
Excuse me.
All good.
I sorry I didn't mean to make you on there. But as I said, I'm a little under the weather today, so I apologize about that. But yes, that's funny, and it's unfortunate as things get bigger. There tends to be a smaller, darker crowd that gets involved that is not so good for the rep of the entire thing. I think about that with just the festival scene in general. It seems to have blown up as well in the past years, 2 years, 3 years, and as that blows up, same type of thing. You get small groups of people that aren't as nice and aren't as puller as others, and they might bring a bad rep, or you might give somebody a bad time for their first festival. I mean, I've gotten stuff stolen, I've had stuff taken from me, so I understand that absolutely. And it wasn't always,
Yeah, and it feels really yucky. Like,
it does feel yucky.
It feels yucky, and mean people suck. But at the same time, I think what festivals do is they help make this sense of community where you're almost like community policing. I don't like the way that sounds, but you're looking out for each other.
You are.
And if you see somebody being shady, whether like messing with your girl and she's had a couple too many drinks, or you see somebody steal something, like I know that my girlfriends are all badasses, but like especially my guy friends, when I see that like masculinity come through in a really conscious way, and they come through like to protect me or protect my girls, or to be like, hey man, you can't just steal that bike, like what the fuck are you doing? That feels really good to me, to see men come together and stand up to try to make a safer, better place and use that strength that they have for good. So I'm going to make that a little challenge to you and all your listeners, is for all the guys out there, like protect your home, protect your ladies, protect all your shit. And you don't have to just be aggressive and beat somebody up because they're not doing anything. Like maybe sometimes you sit down with them and you're like, hey man, like this isn't cool and this is why it's not cool. Do you understand that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a way about going with that, which is about anything. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to stoop down to their level to get a point across. You can still be nice and calm and get that message to them, and they might even receive it better. That's the main thing with me. I've had people where you see someone that is obviously in the wrong, like very obvious they're doing something wrong, and yet instead of somebody going up to them and being like what you just said, hey, why don't you just look, like this is why it's wrong, this is what we're seeing, this is what we don't like can you learn from that, like yada yada. Instead they just attack the person, and instead of that person receiving what they did wrong and trying to work on it, they feel like they're being attacked, and they just completely like shut down. They're like, nope, that person's wrong, they're yelling at me, I didn't do anything. Like it's like you have to be able to have those moments of being calm even in the wrong, when someone is in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to present it to them. And I mean, that's a big thing I've talked about here before with someone else, was that like the giving advice and whatnot is important, and there's a good way of doing it versus being rude and obnoxious about it, because there are people that do that.
Yeah, empathy. We talked about empathy a bunch. Empathy really plays into that. And we talked a little bit too about trauma and passing it on or not passing it on. I feel like most people that are acting in these destructive ways have some kind of trauma, or they're around toxic people who have taught them that behavior is acceptable. When you're coming into my camp, into my festival, into my community, into my space, like this is not acceptable behavior. And let's talk about why. It's not just don't do this. It's let me tell you how this impacts me and what's a better way. Like if you want a beer, just ask me. I'll give you a beer. Like you don't have to be shady.
Yeah. You don't have to take one. Yeah. And that's the other thing. When people expect something, you like almost don't want to give it. You know what I'm saying? Like if they ask politely, you ever had someone like, it sounds really weird. Like I don't mind giving away stuff at all, but like when they almost like expect you to buy them something or buy you a drink, you're like, all right, like I don't want to really do this. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of when they're like, hey, like I don't have my money on me. Can you give me a drink? It's like, yeah, don't even worry about paying me back. Like we're good. But like if they're like, give me a drink, you're like, okay, sure. but I'm not
You
really
know,
happy
that's
about it.
that actually ties into some Burning Man stuff as well. One of the there's this culture of gifting out at Burning Man,
Okay.
where people just give things away. Like I've given away copies of my book, I've given away yoga classes, I've given away tea ceremonies, et cetera, et cetera. And camps give away things. All the camps, different camps might have a bar, different camps might do workshops, different camps might put on like a full club or an art car. And somehow along the line, people started to interpret gifting as you owe me and everything is free.
Mm,
And a
yeah.
gift is something that is given freely. It's not trading and it's not demanded. It's something that you give because you have so much fullness inside of you that you have no problem sharing it with others. And I love that. I love giving presents. That's one of my love languages for sure.
I'm
But
the
when
same
something
way.
is
I'm the same way. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, it's awesome.
take this gift, take that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
when something's
surprised you with this. Yeah.
demanded, when something's demanded, it's no longer a gift and it doesn't feel good. And
No, not at all.
yeah, you don't go into somebody's house, somebody's culture and just demand things when you don't understand what that culture is. And
Totally agree. It's like bad energy. You get that bad energy, that bad vibe when it's
hmm
demanded. You're like, I don't want to be a part of that, And yeah, I mean, no one wants that bad energy. You'd rather
I
again keep that
yep,
positive energy of giving and whatnot.
I will say that asking slash demanding is better than stealing.
I mean,
So
okay, very
we're
true.
getting somewhere there. Let's like
Well,
small steps.
I also think there's a huge difference between asking and demanding because you can
Oh,
ask for something and obviously
absolutely.
there's a different intention behind both of those. There's I'm asking because like I'm just asking. Like at least with me, with sometimes with stuff I might ask him like, hey, you don't have to. I'm just asking. But like when people are like, oh, you're gonna do this, like, and you're it's like
Well, I think,
this
yeah, I
kind
think when you're demanding, the expectation is that the answer is yes. And if
of
you're asking, you're happy, you know that it's a 50-50 chance that it will be yes
yes.
or no.
Beautifully put, better than I just did. Absolutely, yeah. That's it. You nailed it right on the head. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And again, they both bring a different type of energy involved with them too. Of like, one is that kind of more. It's putting the pressure on that person to automatically say yes when they might not want to, And then they're
hmm
not doing it in a gracious way. They're not really doing it in a way they would like to do it. They're doing it because they feel like they have to or they're obligated. And that's with a lot of things. It's not
Oh,
good.
that's real.
Yeah, oh
That's
yeah.
real. I mean, especially being a woman, it take there's a lot of demands on women and a lot of cultural conditioning for women and for girls to say yes, to be agreeable, to make the other person feel comfortable, even if it
Mm.
means that they're a little bit uncomfortable. And that's something that I've really, really been working on, especially in my 30s, is being comfortable saying no and doing it confidently and knowing that it's not my responsibility to say yes to everyone, and especially to men.
Yeah, I mean, I can't relate personally, obviously, but it is something you do see, and it is something that I've had other girls that I know that have spoken up about and said, and um, it is empowering though for you to be able to say no, and that's something I think you can probably attest to this as you've grown and as you've learned that being able to say no is a very empowering thing and a very you feel good about it, especially in certain scenarios that you might be put in. And that's something I think a lot of young women and young girls that are coming of age that might say that they've experienced those pressures and where they felt like they were being demanded and whatnot. And again, I can't speak on it. I'm only speaking from perspective of girls that I personally know that have talked to me about their issues and some of the stuff they have. And it is a very big problem in our society and stuff. It's a very touchy subject. It is,
Oh,
but it is
absolutely. But
something to talk about.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, and it's important too. I'm sure there's just as much conditioning. There's just as much conditioning for men as there is for women. I don't know. You're a woke white man in this culture right now where all this stuff is coming to light. I think it's really important to have voices like yours where you are talking to people like me, you are respecting women, and you are holding your brothers accountable when they're not showing that same respect. So, you
yeah. I mean, it's I like it. You not that it's excusable, but you do bring up a very counterintuitive point of saying there are, on the vice versa, there are things that guys are conditioned for. I think that's a very valid thing to talk about, and I don't think it does get talked about. And I'm not trying to sympathize with that category, because there are things that are bad with it, but it's something that you've brought up that is intriguing to me, that you were able to bring up that opposing view of saying, like, well, there are guys that get conditioned for certain shit, and that's not saying that it's good, but there's a way we should be able to break that conditioning where that doesn't spill over onto women and other men and stuff, because there is that, what is it, like, toxic masculinity that is
toxic
the main
masculinity is real, and we're in this place right now where we have this awareness, we have the dialogue, and it's a little bit painful to talk about it. It takes, we talked about trauma and like dark shadows lurking underneath, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's really up to us to do that work, so maybe it actually ends with this generation.
Yeah.
Like I think we have all the tools. I think we have all the awareness, and I've witnessed a lot of transformation in my community and in myself. So it definitely gives me a lot of hope to overturn this.
What advice for young women would you have? What would you give yourself now with the things that you would tell yourself differently back in when you were young? If there's anything at all.
That you are not responsible for other people's emotions. You're responsible for for being truthful and setting up fair expectations, but you are not responsible for anybody else's emotions.
Right.
And you are absolutely allowed to say no anytime that you want, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about that. And that each time that you say no and you stand strong in that it also helps your yes be more powerful. And likewise, you're allowed to say yes anytime that you want to, just as I think women are also kind of taught to be chaste and to be a little bit demure. And when a guy's chasing them, that means that they're into them. But if you just stop that and be like, well, no, yes, I'm interested, then you don't have to condition men to chase us. Like, yes, I want to be doted on. Yes, I want to be treated like a lady. But at the same time, it's powerful to just be able to say yes and give men or anybody, I'm speaking a lot about romantic relationships and kind of courting, but at the same time, that also comes through and, in business or in anything else as well.
That you bring up, that's very valid. Yeah, it goes. What am I trying to say? Yeah, I mean, you have the freedom to say yes or no as you choose, and I think that's very empowering to all women, and it should be. I mean, you if you want to, then do it. There shouldn't be any judgment on that, and if you don't, then don't, and there shouldn't be any judgment on that either. And again, I think it's important for that. That's how you live for yourself. Like you say, there's your emotions of other people. Yes, be empathetic. Yes, be nice. Obviously, don't do anything with negative intentions. But at the end of the day, sometimes someone's feelings might get hurt or something, or someone might have frustration, or something. Who knows? But it's not really on you at that point. If you've done all the right things, it's really on that person and how they handle it, and they might have to work on themselves to handle it better,
And
for starters,
that's all real.
And if they
wait, one more little thing too.
Go ahead.
That I want to tell my younger self is that it's okay to change your mind. Just because that you said yes and you were invested in something, or you thought something was going to go a certain way, circumstances can change.
Yeah.
And it's okay to change your mind.
It's tough. It can. Those circumstances can change. It's tough at times to envision that and go, I'm going to change it, yada, yada, yada. But yeah. Very valid.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, we're doing good.
Yeah, we're about probably an hour or so in right now, to be honest.
All right, awesome. Was there any other questions that you wanted to finish up with?
I've got a slew of questions still, but we've had such a great conversation for the last hour and a half, even when we weren't recording. So honestly, I'm gonna save them for next time. I'm sure if you're more than welcome to come on again. I love the conversation we had, and like I said, we could have gone on I could have probably gone on another hour. I've got a bunch of stuff still written down. I've really only marked off 2 things from my list here. So
I know we knew this was going to happen. We knew the conversation was going to be really easy and free flowing. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. Yeah, I'd love to come back on sometime in the future
yeah,
and maybe even
absolutely.
just like pick one of these topics. I feel like there's so much to talk about. And yeah, definitely talk to me about Festival Land. Get into the book and invite me on the Festival podcast. I would love that.
Absolutely. We can definitely make that happen. I know Aid and I are always wanting more guests. We're just starting to have guests on it, so we're definitely down to have you come
That's so
on, share some stories.
exciting.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. Your new book is out, everybody. Check it out. Burning Wings. Yeah, hold it up one more
Burning
time for everybody.
wings. Let
I'm
me see
sure
that.
it'll be
Oh,
in
we're
the
gonna do a giveaway. We're gonna do a giveaway for your listeners too, but we'll post all about that.
All right, everybody. We will be doing a giveaway. Yeah, we need to work out the details and what we want to do for that, but we will do a giveaway. I'll have a link to the book website and everything. You guys can buy it there. Follow. What's your Instagram? Put your Instagram. Or I'll put that in the
Instagram
description
is
too.
just my first and last name. It's
Okay.
Kyra Bramble. I also am launching a digital marketplace for chefs specializing in health and wellness, and I am a private chef that specializes in yoga retreat catering and intentional cooking. My
Ooh.
personal Instagram is definitely more of my writing and my little bit of a wild child, but if you want to get into my hippie shit, I have some outlets for that too. So
I'll make sure to plug them
thank
all in for the podcast, so people will get
yeah,
that for sure.
got all the levels. Thank you so much, Jacob. This was so much fun. I'm really grateful that you had me and that we had so much to talk about. You were wonderful.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could be a great host. I'm glad to have you on. It was a great discussion, and like I said, we have a slew of things we could still talk about. So we'll definitely have you back on again, and we'll get some of these other topics in for sure. But all right,
Great.
thank you for coming on. Bye.